You've probably seen those survivor clips where somebody takes the killer for a 5-gen chase. If you're newer to Dead by Daylight, it's easy to watch that stuff and come away with the idea that surviving basically comes down to just being good in chase. The problem is that's not always why newer players have a hard time surviving. In many cases, there are significant mistakes made before the chase even starts. If you're somebody who's tired of hearing, you need 10 trillion hours in order to be half decent, this video is for you, because there are plenty of things that you can apply to your game right now to help you survive more often, and none of them require you to run the killer for 5 gens. One of the biggest mistakes newer survivors make is not putting any effort into hiding or stealthing. People spend so much time trying to learn what to do after the killer finds them. A better question is why the killer found you in the first place. Have some sense of self-preservation. You don't have to leave scratch marks everywhere and ring a massive dinner bell by fast vaulting and wasting your life just because you heard a heartbeat. Instead, try to walk, hide behind objects and stay hidden, especially if the killer is in a rush later in the match. They likely won't take the time to search behind every nook and cranny near a generator. Every 10 or 20 seconds the killer spends searching for you is time wasted for them. You don't need to be crazy at looping if the killer already wasted 30% of a gen looking for you. And that leads into another mistake that gets people killed constantly: marrying your generators. We've all done this before. You're sitting on a gen, the terror radius gets louder, you start to hear a heartbeat, but the gen is almost done, so you try to stick it, maybe another second or 2 or 3. Then the killer gets a free hit off of you and still gets to kick the gen even if you don't finish it in time. Do not marry your generators. You can always come back and finish them later. A gen getting kicked is often preferable to giving the killer a free health state or a hook. You'll be surprised how many hits you stop taking, and your chases will end up being longer by extension of that without having to apply any extra real skill. Something else that helps a lot is getting into the habit of planning your escape route before you need it. Next time you hop on a gen, ask yourself, if the killer pulls up right now, where am I gonna go? Don't wait till you hear a heartbeat. Don't wait until they get a hit on you. Start planning where you're gonna go as soon as you hop on the generator. One thing you'll notice about experienced survivors is they almost always know where they're headed next. They're taking note of the resources around them. They're thinking about pallets, windows, and jungle gyms. Meanwhile, new players tend to realize they're in a dead zone after the chase has already started. This is called having good positioning and awareness. It's not flashy, nobody makes montages about it, but positioning quietly wins an insane amount of games. Now let's talk about pallets. A lot of newer survivors are terrified of dropping them because they watch content creators greet every pallet on the map and they think that's how they're supposed to play too. So they hold W into a pallet, the killer gets closer, and then they go down with a perfectly good pallet right next to them. Just throw it. Pallets are there for you to use. So many survivors leave precious seconds on the table trying to save pallets when they could have just thrown it and bought their team some extra precious time. Trying to save a pallet for next match doesn't help anyone. Take the boring chase and just drop the pallet. Run to the next tile. Make the killer spend more time. You don't need a highlight tape. You need every second that you can possibly buy your team. Now here's another tip that's absolutely huge for beginners. You need to get comfortable staying injured. So many survivors go through a phase where getting injured feels like an emergency. You take a hit and you start looking for a teammate, digging through chests for a medkit, or being immersed in a corner of a map and self-carrying. Sometimes that can be the right play, but most of the time it isn't. Healing is an investment. If you're spending a bunch of time trying to get healed, what are you getting in return? Sometimes the answer is a lot. Most of the time, it's not a lot. And the number one most important tip for new players is to pay attention to what's going on the left side of your screen. Pay attention to who's actually being chased. This single tip can make solo queue lobbies play like Survive with Friends if everyone is on the same page. The killer can only do one thing at a time. That's their biggest weakness. The moment you see someone else is in a chase, you should be asking yourself what that allows you to get away with. Can you pressure a more dangerous area of the map, like a generator that's in a dead zone? Can you finish an alternate objective like a hex totem before the killer is able to rotate back? If one person is on the hook, there are typically 3 other survivors that the killer has to worry about. If the killer is chasing one of them, that leaves 2 other people with idle hands. If your teammate is on a gen, go get the save. You don't have to be an insane comp monster to survive your games. You don't need 5 gen chases. You don't need to learn every mind game on every tile. Most of the improvement comes from smaller decisions, using your brain and thinking, being harder to find, pre-running and leaving sooner, positioning yourself for success, not being afraid to use your resources, and being aware of what your team is up to.